Okay, here. I'm stationary, so maybe it'll be quieter and it'll be a bit more clear, this video. Actually, I plan on doing a couple of videos. It was a comment on a recent video that I had, and JC Girl, I think it was, um, posed a question on confidence, and she made a comment that she's going into a nursing residency program, which I also did too. And I used to very much advocate for them. Those programs are very good, in my opinion. I still think they're good, but there's a caveat. And I'll do that topic right now, and then I'll address her confidence one, which most people say fake it till you make it. That's the commentary, and that'll probably be the second video. This one's going to be talking about the nurse residency programs. Basically, they're apprenticeships. In my former business, we were doing plastic manufacturing, and we had a lot of tool makers, mold makers, machinists, and that was basically taught apprentice style. Basically a blacksmith, basically. They are, in my opinion, they're artisans. They're artists at their work, and they teach their trade to a young apprentice. Like leather work or what have you. I have a friend that's a mortician, and he learned his trade from his father. He's been a mortician now for 40 some odd years. He had to still go to school. He had to get a degree in it for that, at least in America. But he already knew what to do. I mean, he just breezed right through it. So for nursing, you could just do it. They could just unleash you onto the world and say, hey, you got an RN degree, you got training, you pass NCLEX, you're a nurse. Go ahead, do it. I find that very highly suspect. I find it, dangerous to some degree, or it's very daring, Whereas doctors get residencies, they serve fellowships and internships, and they're trained specifically. There's a time when they're on probation. It's something I'm going to bring up with my management in our upcoming meetings, that I think that is a non-cost, because they're going to love things that don't cost them money, a non-cost incentive that is basically a mentorship, a real mentorship. We have mentorships, but that's BS mentorships. True mentors and residency programs. We have the residency programs, but they've morphed. I was in it. It was basically, I looked at it as an apprenticeship, and most of the people that were in it with me saw it that way. Some of them saw it as an employment contract, like a rookie contract for Major League Baseball or NBA or NFL, where the club or the team has you under their control for X amount of time, and you can't do anything about it. To some degree, that is what it's morphed into, because they're in such desperate need. There's desperation, there's frantic desperation to keep hold of these nurses at these whatever units that you enter. Like my unit, I think half the people that entered, if they knew what kind of shit unit it is, and it is in difficulty level, it's considered the hardest unit in the entire organization. Hardest unit on the hospital, definitely. It's just difficult mentally, emotionally, somewhat physically. Not that much skill set wise, technical. Now I'll say, I'm being very honest with you guys. ICU is much more difficult. PACU, ER, OR, yeah, they could do what we're doing nurse-wise standing on their head. Emotionally, those guys run screaming. They literally run screaming, and they threaten to quit if they're floated again. They say, absolutely not. CVICU nurses, cardiac nurses, they're like, no. And some of them are friends. They're like, no, I will quit before coming back here. And I was like, so I shouldn't recruit you then. I was like, okay, never mind. It's just an emotional draining experience. It's one thing, it's people have postpartum. They can't tolerate their kids. Imagine total strangers they got to deal with. It's very, very difficult. So my organization has started using the residency program as an employment contract to hold people in whatever unit. So you cannot move. It's a 2-year employment. I had finished mine last year. My friend just finished his, and he's like, I'm ready to run. And he was gung-ho for our unit. But they had just turned him. They literally turned him like a vampire. It's just like, whoa, what happened? And, we'll go through the litany of his complaints. And it's just like, wow, that he has justification. They're using it as leverage. So it's a cautionary tale about these residency programs that you do sign an employment contract and you're stuck there. You could quit and work anywhere else, frankly. And that's the weak Achilles heel for these now. They worked in the past when it was difficult for us to maneuver and run around. You could just hang up your spurs and go traveling. Even brand new out of school. My daughter's thinking that. I advise her, do not. It's dangerous for you and your patients. Okay? You can literally kill somebody. Don't do that. Become a nurse. And that's what I talk about the next video. Get your confidence. Get your experience. Then do your travel. I'm not saying don't do traveling. I'm just saying don't do traveling as a grad nurse. You're not ready for it. I don't care what you think you are. You're top hot shit. You're from Harvard. You're from NYU. You're from UCL. Whatever. No. You're not ready for what's on the field. I don't care if you've been a tech for 10 years. You're not ready for being a nurse. I've seen a lot of techs make that jump, and they're like, holy shit, I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I knew what you guys are doing. And I said, no. You're not there 24/7 with us as a tech. And I was a tech. And I had no idea. I had friends that were much better techs than me. I had people that were techs 10 years more than me. They were swamped. One person had to quit. They reassigned her to something else. She still has an RN, but it is not something you're prepared to be unless you're eased into it, unless you're trained into it. And that's what I say. That's why I still advocate for these residency programs. They're good training. They ease you into it. I needed that extra time. My friend who couldn't make it, actually, let's say, I'm just pulling these numbers out of the sky. Residency gives you 3 months training for med surg. If you're just a regular nurse becoming a nurse, they give you 1 month, maybe a month and a half, 6 weeks. She needed 3 months, my friend. She was not part of the residency program, but my organization said, hey, look, we'll stretch it out. It still wasn't enough for her. Okay. So that's why they transferred to something else. But that's a big difference. 6 weeks to 12 weeks. You need that extra time. They sent you for extra training. They ended up sending her for extra training, even though she wasn't supposedly qualified. They just kind of said, no. We don't want to lose a nurse. Here, we're going to pull. And that was pre-COVID. So now they would have probably sent her for 6 months of training and said, no, we're gonna ride this baby out. But I don't want to say they gave up on her, because that's not fair. They actually doubled her training and still wasn't enough. Whoa, sorry. That was in a parking spot. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? So I do advocate that residency programs, nursing residency programs are great. They are very good for what they do. They're going to train you. You're going to be an apprentice nurse, basically. And I still wear my residency badge. People they're like, all right, you've been out of it. And I was like, yeah, but I'm proud to have been part of it. But there is a lot of viewpoints where it's an employment contract now. I'm sorry this video got a lot longer than I wanted to, but I wanted to give you guys some background and some understanding of what it is. I still think it's a good option to go into residency programs. Just be aware that it is like an employment contract and you're going to be under their control and they're using it as such. It sucks. That's corporate greed and corporate panicking. That's just what it is. I'm sorry for that. But it will serve you well. You will get good training from it. You'll be eased into it. and you won't be just dropped into the deep end like you would be if you're a grad nurse and you started traveling, for say. You're just going to be dumped in the deep end because they say, hey, you're traveling, deal with it. I have another video for travelers. I don't remember if I posted it or not. I'll double check and see if I might post it then. If I did, then I'll try to link it or whatever, try to look for it. That traveling is very difficult, guys. If you're not an experienced nurse, I don't recommend it at all. If you are, I recommend it highly. Make money. Make your money. You deserve it. Okay? Good luck.